Button up your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Eat an apple every day, get to bed by 3. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Be careful crossing streets, ooh, and don't eat sweets, ooh, cut out meats, ooh, or you'll get a pain and ruin your tum-tum. Button up your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Wear your flannel underwear when you climb a tree. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Don't sit on hornets' tails, ooh, or on nails, ooh, or third rails, oh, or you'll get a pain and ruin your tum-tum. Don't go out with college boys when you're on a spree. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. There we go, that's our song for today. Hope you enjoyed that. The person that wrote it, Ruth Etting, I believe her name was, probably is cringing in her grave at that rendition of her lovely song. Anyway, we've got a few things to do today, and I wasn't doing shout-outs at this time, but I sort of inadvertently am going to do a shout-out at the request of Good News Travelers, whose YouTube channel link I will put in the description. I will be talking today about candy canes. And again, we're using this book, Stories Behind the Great Traditions of Christmas. And you can see it's written by Ace Collins, and it is published by Zondervan. That's Zondervan. Lovely book. Comes in a set of 3, Stories Behind Christmas, and it includes 2 volumes on Christmas hymns and carols and the backgrounds behind them, and 1 volume on the traditions. So, candy canes. You all probably have seen candy canes and have probably enjoyed one in your lifetime, if not more. So it says, there are probably as many legends centered on the candy cane as on any other Christmas tradition. Many of the tales that are known today about this familiar hook-shaped peppermint stick are probably as much fable as fact. Nevertheless, in the last 75 years, the symbolism of the candy cane, born of legend and now brought to life by a unique striping design, has made it one of the best teaching tools of the holiday season. Hard candy has been around almost as long as people have been yearning for sweets. For over 1,000 years, hard candy has been used to reward children who were good. Yet the multicolored candy that is seen on store shelves today did not exist until 100 years ago, because of the time it took to add additional colors by hand. In the past, hard candy was usually made in a solid color. When children began to receive special treats on St. Nicholas Day in the 4th century, hard candy was probably one of the first things enjoyed. Yet because the ingredients for this candy were not easy to obtain, and most peasants did not have enough money to purchase these treats often, the sweet was probably a rare delicacy in most households. The rarity and popularity of the treat means that the first Christian legend associated with the candy cane is probably based on actual events. Church history records that in 1670, the choir master at Germany's Cologne Cathedral was faced with a problem that still challenges parents, teachers, and choir masters today. The children in the choir often grew restless and noisy during long services. Most authority figures of the time would have handled the situation through punishment, usually with a switch. Yet the choir master, who had seen this tactic used time and again, knew that the punitive practice only worked for short periods of time. Soon the painful lesson had been forgotten, and the children were again fidgeting and whispering to one another. The choir master came up with a sweetly brilliant plan. He sought out a local candy maker, and after looking over the treats in his shop, the music leader paused in front of some white sticks. He knew the children liked this treat, and better yet, it took them a long time to consume the sticks. So the candy seemed to be perfect for what he needed, a way to keep the children quiet when they were not singing. Yet the choir master wondered if the priests and parents would allow him to give the children in his choir candy during a church service. The congregation and clergy would get upset if the children were not quiet, but they would probably also be offended if the kids were eating candy in the sanctuary. Then inspiration struck. The choir master asked the candy maker if he could bend the sticks and make a crook at the top of each one. When the confectioner assured the director that he could, a plan was hatched. The candy would not just be a treat, it would be a teaching tool. The choir master decided that the candy's pure white color would represent the sinless life of Christ. The crook would serve as a way for the children to remember the story of the shepherds who came to visit the baby Jesus. The shepherds carried staves or canes, and with the hook on the top of the stick, the candy now looked like a cane. Right before the service, the music leader gathered his flock around him and told them the symbolic story of the white candy stick. The congregation and the priests were enamored with the choir master's inventive tale and believed the use of the biblical truths in the lesson had been indeed inspired. But the ultimate compliment for the choir master came when his choir was so busy enjoying their long-lasting treats that they didn't disturb the Christmas Eve service at all. Thus began the Simple Candy Canes Association with the Christian faith. Within 100 years, white candy canes were being placed on Christmas trees in Germany. Some may have known the story of the choir master that was told in Cologne, but more likely those who hung the treats on the tree did so because the hook made it easy to use. The bottom line was that children could not wait for the time when the tree came down, usually on January 6th, the day of Epiphany, so they could finally eat the decorations. Another persistent legend surrounding the candy cane is tied to Oliver Cromwell's rule in England, a time when Christmas celebrations were banned by the Puritan leader. It is said that during this short historical period, a dedicated Christian confectioner treated a candy cane as a way for Christians to recognize each other on the street. The candy was supposed to be a type of code or signal, like a secret handshake. These canes decorated... Hey buddy, you want to come up? Come on in. Come on. There we go. There's Browen. Say hi, Browen. Say hi, Browen. There he is. Okay, you want to listen to the story too? Alrighty, here we go. Sorry about that. He gets jealous when he feels like he's being left out. Now I lost my place. Gotta find it again. These canes, decorated with 3 tiny red stripes, which represented the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and another bold, thick red stripe that demonstrated the redemptive power of Christ's blood, were given out to those who profess Christ as their Savior. Could this legend be true? Possibly, but as the striping would have had to be accomplished by hand and would have taken a great deal of time, it is doubtful that the candy maker would have distributed very many of the canes. Thus, this symbolic practice would have been observed in only a small part of England, probably one community or village. Although Christmas was officially banned, corporate worship was not, so the need for a symbol of this type would have seemed unnecessary. More than likely, if this legend of the candy maker is true, it probably happened not during Cromwell's reign, but when all religions but the Church of England were officially banned. The candy maker may have been a member of an outlawed Protestant faith, known as nonconformists, or the Catholic Church, and used the cane as a teaching tool. So, though largely unsubstantiated, there probably is some truth in this story, and the legend survives to this day. Europeans must have brought the candy cane with them to the New World before the Revolution, into the United States before the Revolution of 1776. But the treat's identification with Christmas didn't take root until Americans began to celebrate Christmas with presents, trees, and family gatherings 2 decades before the Civil War. It is said that a German-Swedish immigrant, August Imgard, was the first in the United States to use candy canes as ornaments. In 1847, he placed them on the fir tree he had brought into his Worcester, Ohio home for a holiday decoration. The idea quickly caught on. There are many American Christmas illustrations from the second half of the 19th century that show the candy cane as part of the holiday festivities. But in each and every case, the candy cane is solid white. By the turn of the century, the candy cane was incredibly popular throughout the year, but it didn't take on its current look until the 1920s. Bob McCormick, who ran a small confectionery in Albany, Georgia, found a way to hand-twist colors into the canes. Soon the process was being used by others. An Indiana candy maker, whose brother was a priest, knew the old story of the red and white candy cane being used as a way to identify Christians in England. Being a Christian, the Indiana candy maker created the canes that reflected this legend, as well as his own belief. Each of this man's festive sticks was made with the symbolism of the Trinity and the redeeming blood of Christ. The hook for the shepherd's staff and the white for the purity of Christ was included. It is even said that in this case, the hook was really the upside-down letter J, standing for Jesus. So while the spiritual meaning of the original colored candy cane might well have been a legend in England, within the past century, the legendary symbolism has become a reality in the United States and throughout much of the world. There can be little doubt that hard candy has been associated with the holiday season for as long as children have looked forward to seeing St. Nicholas. Yet the candy canes that probably first appeared at a church service in the Middle Ages, used then as a tool to both teach and appease children, has become one of the sweetest reminders of the real reason for the Christmas season, and one of the few holiday traditions that portrays the meaning of why Jesus was born. So there you have it, folks. There's the story behind the candy cane. And now, the dreaded moment that you all sit on the edge of your chairs for, waiting with great anticipation, I'm sure, for each week. And this week, the groaner of the week is courtesy of Moon. It's another channel. I will put the link in the description. Check out Moon, see what he has on his channel. But Moon sent this groaner to me to share with you. So if you don't like it, you can blame me. If you do enjoy it, go to Moon's channel and tell him how much you enjoyed the groaner on Ian Wygath this week. So, it turns out that Forrest Gump died and he goes to heaven. And as he is at the pearly gates, he's met by St. Peter himself. However, the gates are closed and Forrest approaches the gatekeeper. St. Peter says, "Well, Forrest, it's certainly good to see you. We've heard a lot about you, and I must tell you, the place is filling up fast." Sorry, I'm trying to read this and the light's not that great here. Got great lighting for the video, but the lighting for reading's not too hot. And we have been administering an entrance exam for everyone. The test is short, but you have to pass it before you can get into heaven. Forrest responds, "It sure is good to be here, St. Peter, sir, but nobody ever told me about an entrance exam. Sure hope the test is not too hard. Life was a big enough test as it was." St. Peter goes on, "Yes, I know, Forrest, but the test is only 3 questions. First, what 2 days of the week begin with the letter T? Second, how many seconds are there in a year? And third, what is God's first name? Forrest leaves to think about the questions. He returns the next day and sees St. Peter, who waves him up and says, "Now that you've had a chance to think the questions over, Forrest, tell me your answers." Forrest says, "Well, the first one, which 2 days of the week begin with the letter T, sucks." Well, that's not too hard. The 2 days of the week that start with the letter T would be today and tomorrow. St. Peter's eyes open wide, and he exclaims, "That's not the answer we were looking for." Sorry. But you do have a point. I'll let you have that one, because I didn't specify that I wanted the names of the days, which are Tuesday and Thursday. "How about the next one?" asked St. Peter. "How many seconds in a year?" "Now that one's harder," says Forrest, "but I think about that, and I guess the only answer can be 12. Confounded, St. Peter says, 12? 12? Forrest, how in heaven's name could you come up with 12 seconds in a year?" Forrest says, "Well, shucks, there's gotta be 12. January 2nd, February 2nd, March 2nd. "Hold it," interrupts St. Peter. "I see where you're going with this, and I see your point, though that was not quite what I had in mind, but I will have to give you credit for that one too. Let's go on with the third final question. Can you tell me God's first name?" "Oh, sure," Forrest replied. "It's Andy." "Andy?" exclaimed the exasperated and frustrated St. Peter. "Okay, I can understand how you came up with your answers to my first 2 questions, but just how in the world did you come up with Andy as the first name of God?" "Oh, shucks, that was the easiest one of all," replied Forrest. "I learnt it from the song. Andy walks with me, Andy talks with me, Andy tells me I am his own." St. Peter opened the pearly gates and said, "Run, Forrest, run!" There you go. There's your groaner of the week. Well, with that note, I ask that you have, or hope that you have enjoyed this. Have a blessed weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday for baking. My apologies, I did not get a baking video up this last Tuesday. Unfortunately, I was fighting a cold or flu bug or something and just did not feel like doing much of anything. I did manage to watch a few YouTube videos and leave a comment. If I missed yours, I apologize. I'll try to do some catching up, and maybe next week, maybe I'll try and do 2 cooking videos to make up for not doing one last Tuesday. So please check out Good News Travelers and Moon. Descriptions are in the links. And until next Tuesday, take care, stay safe, and God bless.